Hi, it's Friday and time to look back at what happened this week at Queen's Park. The legislature is not sitting, but the government is still at work, and MPPs and political staff are hard at work, and I'll tell you why. I want to talk about four things this week. The third wave of COVID is upon us, a correction about vaccine hesitancy amongst Indigenous peoples, the Apprenticeship Incentive Program, and the budget is coming out next Wednesday. If you're interested, please stay with me. If not, please join me next Friday at this time. First, I want to talk about the next wave of the COVID pandemic. The Science Advice Panel has recommended a targeted lockdown. We can see clearly in the data that the third wave has begun. Now, we can finesse the lockdowns to protect vulnerable people, to protect businesses, and to consider things like mental health. But we should not be treating this simply as a race between getting people vaccinated and the infections from the third wave and the variant viruses, because the public health officials, the scientists are saying, we're going to lose that race. So we should not be just sitting and waiting for the vaccines to be given to people. Next, I want to talk about a correction. Last week, I talked about vaccine hesitancy in Indigenous peoples, and I want to make a correction, which is that there was an article by University of Ottawa researcher Veldon Coburn, who looked at survey data on, for example, flu shots or early childhood vaccinations. And he said that Indigenous people, for the most part, are not more vaccine hesitant than non-Indigenous Canadians. Now, that's one researcher, so you never have the case where one researcher has the final say on anything, but it means that we have to be careful and not just look at the media quotes or political leaders' quotes, and we always have to be open to be corrected, and I want to correct something that I said last week to say we have to consider what this survey data says. The third thing I want to talk about is the Apprenticeship Incentive Program. There was an announcement a couple of weeks ago about the details of this program. It's been a long-standing problem that businesses are reluctant to train apprentices because there's a risk of spending the time and money to train somebody and then have that person move to another employer later. So this Apprenticeship Incentive Program pays businesses $1,000 for each milestone that an apprentice reaches in their training. And hopefully that will improve the number of skilled tradespeople we have available. We keep talking about a shortage. And it will make our workers, on average, more productive and our economy stronger as we come out of the pandemic, and that's something we need. What we need to do going forward is make sure that this incentive program, the cash payments, actually make businesses change their behavior and train more apprentices. And lastly, the Ontario budget is coming out on Wednesday. It'll be important to find out what the government will spend money on. Will they raise taxes or will they borrow from the future? What are the government's priorities and what are the alternatives that the opposition parties offer? That's why the MPPs and their political staff will be working hard in the next few days. In my experience, in the week leading up to a budget, you're always spending a lot of time working, studying, and getting ready to talk about the budget. Thanks very much for joining me this week, and I hope to see you next Friday as we look at what happened at Queen's Park.